Alabaster Woman. I've read your story 100 times, and I know conjuring you up repeatedly in my mind can never equal the feeling of actually getting to meet you. I may never have met you, but I've been here before. With your face veiled, you walked in the midst of drunken men, voices raised, foot rays passed like sun rays. You walked pop-eyed tall into a place culture and tradition forbade you. With your head bowed, your scarf draping loosely over your head down to your shoulder, your dress the same you'd worn yesterday and the other days before, only this time your mission was different. With a little alabaster jar in hand, the only thing you ever had to offer. Given, the previous men to whom you'd poured your fragrance had only found it a worthy seduction, but there was something about this man that told you he was more than just a brief connection with your skin. So with shadowed eyes you looked over every mannish frame, making your way slowly yet steadily to him. In that moment, your mind was a compass and all coordinates pointed north. You knew your destination, but not so much the route. He had to be somewhere that spoke different, and I could feel your heart skip a bit as your eyes caught sight of him at the far end of the room, reclining against the table. Gathering up all that was left of your courage, you made straight to him. I can hear the voices screaming in your head, unworthy, filthy, leave, but you knew better than to lend your head a mic. Your heart had lost the ability to be coherent. Years of being tossed from one body to the next had melted it into a liquid mass that could only bleed tears. See, this pain, I know firsthand. That was all you had to give, and the jar, which was a symbol for all you'd never been, innocent and pure. Through men and men you pushed, till at last you had him in full stare. I know the warmth that flooded your heart in that minute, a feeling so distant yet familiar. If you'd been someone else, you'd have been able to form those firecracks in your heart to words, but you were just a woman with retired feet and surrendered hands. Oh, woman, you'd been running for so long you could tell the finish line. Even through blinded eyes, I could feel your knees buckled beneath you, your heart burning with every ounce of guilt and relief. Your mind finally silenced, your mouth suddenly numbed by the weight of your emotions until all your body could process was surrender. So, with a heavy sigh, you fell on your knees, your head pressed hard against his feet as he poured rain clouds of tears over them. If tears were a language, then he was a polyglot, so you let your heart speak without reserve. But if you listened, you'd have heard the shocked gasps and silent whispers. If you'd paused for a moment and looked up, you'd have met staring back at yours pairs of eyes bidding you to leave. The many expressions that spoke 1,000 volumes, yet acceptance was not one of them. But woman, I'm glad for the first time the only voice you let speak was the one from your core. Your heart had grown accustomed to hearing their rejection song. Your ears knew they needed a new melody. I can feel your body tremble as you let out everything: the pain, the shame, the guilt, the filth, the sin, everything. And all the while the man stood still as you made Calvary of his feet. And when the last tear was spent, you let down your hair brown and full and began to wipe his feet with them. Once upon a time, I too had wiped his feet with bloodied hands racked with guilt for one who could make clean. All he wanted was the dirt, and when your hair had soaked up every tear, you kissed his feet with trembling lips and opened up your jar of alabaster. For your alabaster, you'd pawned boxes of trinkets and gold accumulated from years of trading sin. All the luscious silk and expensive garments meant only to snare blind men, and money given in exchange for lust. All you traded to offer something true, something different, something pure. Tonight, you had to be poor to access his heart. The altar is no place for the rich. And as the fragrance filled the room, I could feel your insides brighten with a familiar fragrance. Woman, you'd exchanged your treasure for his, a life. For a life. And when all had been laid, in those still moments of silence when only a heartbeat could be heard, he changed everything with just 4 words. Your sins are forgiven. Woman, I know the joy of those split seconds could never equal the totality of your life. I know words cannot capture a snapshot of your heart in that moment. For the first time, you could hear the sound of your own heartbeat. You were living again, and suddenly nothing else mattered. His voice was like a wave on the sea, bidding all intruding sheep to leave. Calm was a word you had not known, but somehow had broken into the crevice of your heart and taken captive the storm. Oh woman, the joy that flooded your being when your lips broke into a smile as you looked into his eyes. No, Judas, can't you see? Charity was not a solution to this pain. Peace cannot be bought with a few cents on a street corner. And Simon, only when you've lived in a dark room your whole life would you appreciate the slightest crack of light. Lend a blind man your eyes for a few seconds and watch him reinvent sight. Here was a man that could see through cosmetics of goodness and charm. The heart cannot be fixed by band-aids of charity or religion. The heart cannot be fixed by band-aids of charity or religion. You've never known truth till you've fallen at his feet in surrender. Because at the feet of the Master, the magnitude of sin is not the issue. But to him who is willing to trade regardless, will he exchange his fragrance for yours, his heart for yours, his life for yours. Go in peace. Your faith has saved you. Woman,